Hey guys, Max92 and welcome back to another tryout. Today's tryout is on Shiren the Wanderer, the Tower of Fortune, and the Dice of Fate. If you've never heard of this game, this is a... Alright, so when I originally recorded this, I said the wrong thing. I thought that this game was a remake of the second Mystery Dungeon game, which is called Shiren the Wanderer. That got a release on the DS. That was a re-release in like 2006? Something like that, 2008, internationally. However, this is not that game. This is Shiren 5, Shiren the Wanderer, the fifth Shiren the Wanderer game. That originally came out in 2010 for the DS, and then it was re-released for the Vita in 2015, and then 2016 internationally, and this is a expanded re-release of that previous expanded Vita re-release, not a remake of the second game. Then I picked up through this physical copy through Limited Run Games. It was an ordeal kind of getting it. It took months and months to actually show up because of the stuff that it was in the order with it, but it's here now, and that's really all that matters, so I'm finally playing it. You probably better know Mystery Dungeon as like Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, but the Mystery Dungeon series is older than that. It's just pretty common for Mystery Dungeon games to also be made for other franchises as like tie-ins. Pokemon is probably the most famous because Pokemon is the most famous thing in the world, basically. So you might know those. This is a game that plays very similar to that, but it has its own world. It's not Pokemon related whatsoever. In fact, it's not even called Mystery Dungeon in its English title. My experience with this franchise, genre, whatever you want to call it, is with Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Darkness, and also Explorers of Sky. I don't have the boxes, I believe, on hand, so they'd be on the table and I'd showcase them, but I don't believe they are here for me to do that with. If you've played a Mystery Dungeon game, this is basically what you would expect it to be. Mystery Dungeon games, if you don't know, are roguelike games, more like traditional in terms of like a roguelike, and that is a dungeon crawler with tile-based, turn-based movement. But unlike your traditional roguelike, it has a overarching progression that you're experiencing, so you might call it a roguelite, but this is a lot closer to the original conventions of the game Rogue than other games that might be called roguelike or roguelite. The basics are, you move from tile to tile, you move, every other enemy gets to move, take a turn, essentially. Almost like a real-time version of turn-based things. If you stand still, you can change your things, do your stuff, but you move around, and each move is a turn. You attack things, that's a turn. It's relatively intuitive. I don't think it's like something that would be very confusing if you sat down and played it. I do think that maybe this was just me not paying too close attention to the opening cutscene, but it's kind of vague in the start. And it doesn't really be like, okay, you're in this town for this reason, go to this place to start your adventure. Maybe it did and I just missed it because I wasn't paying the closest attention to the opening cutscene, but it just seemed like, alright, I'm in a town, now what? I don't know where I'm going. But eventually, I entered the houses, talked to some people, figured out, okay, I'm supposed to look for this guy, and I found that guy, and whatever. It wasn't difficult to get started, it was just kind of vague, and there wasn't a lot of direction. Those are like the little things that make stuff like this less approachable to people who aren't used to it. I do think that as like a beginner to this genre, this franchise, whatever you want to call it, the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games might be more accessible because they have a very intended younger audience. Another thing I want to note is that these games, at least some of the ones that I played on the DS, have a system where you can be rescued by other players if you die in the dungeon, and then you don't lose as much progress as a consequence of dying. So another player will basically come take like your rescue request and go into the dungeon and save your character and whatever. I don't know the exact details because I didn't do it a lot in the games before, but I question if there are enough players still playing this for a thing like that to still really work. You might want to get into this with a friend because I believe you can send like codes to one another for rescues. So if you get you die in a dungeon, you can be like, "Hey, buddy, can you here's my rescue code. Can you come get? Can you save me or whatever?" Not 100% sure on that because I've not really played with this system that much, but it seems like maybe playing this with a friend, not with a friend because it is only single player, but having someone to rescue you if need be, and vice versa, might be a better way to play. Because like I said, I'm not sure if there's a player base still playing this that, you know, is around to rescue players who die in a dungeon. But my overall thoughts is that, you know, I did enjoy the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games I played, though I don't believe I finished either of them growing up. I got pretty far in at least one of them, but I don't believe I finished either of them. But they are games that, like, I find them fun. I think they might be a bit less widespread enjoyed. I'm not sure what the gaming culture has to say about Mystery Dungeon as a franchise genre thing, but there's something that, like, I have always, you know, been like, I enjoyed Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games. I'd like to try some other ones. I've had Chocobo Mystery Dungeon on the Switch on my list to check out for a while, but I saw this one on Limited Run Games, and like, yeah, I'm gonna try this one because, like, I looked it up and it's like, that's, yeah. I'm intrigued to play more. The narrative stuff is not necessarily, like, that intriguing to me, but it's there to sort of, like, pull you through, give you a reason to be going through these dungeons. I think the narrative stuff is better in the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games that I played, but I find this gameplay fun enough on its own, and the way that you can, like, amass your party and all that stuff, that I want to play more of it and see where all that goes. And I died, and I'm waiting to be rescued, but I recorded that a couple days ago, so maybe someone's rescued me right now. I'll have to check it out eventually, but I'm playing, like, Tears of the Kingdom right now, so I'm not going to come back to this for a little bit, probably. But anyway, I would say then that this passes this tryout. I'm intrigued. Gonna try to play more at some point in the future. I start a lot of games on this show, and it sometimes takes me a long time to come back to them, but yeah. That's the gist of what I got to say about Shiren the Wanderer. So we'll get to the end bits here. Got a description. You find all the beacons.io link that takes you to all of my stuff. You know, my Patreon, Bandcamp, Redbubble, etc. Click those links, go what you do in those places. Like the video if you liked it, dislike if you didn't. Subscribe and keep with this and other shows. I do all sorts of stuff on the channel. Mostly this right now, but periodically there'll be other things as I get stuff done. So look forward to those other things. Leave a comment. Have you played... What's a Mystery Dungeon game you've played? Did you like them? Do you like Mystery Dungeon games? Is there one you've seen that you want to try? Let me know in the comments. Share the video. Do the things. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!